What's up, moviegoers? This is RJ Game News USA here, and I just seen 28 Years Later in the theater, and I got some thoughts on that. I think it's an 8 out of 10 overall, and I want to go over everything, so if you like this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's just jump right into it. First, we have to talk just a little bit, we're not going to bog it down, about the history of this franchise and my experience with it. I loved 28 Days Later. I thought it was a genre-defining movie. Like, really gave the zombie genre a kickstart it needed in the ass in the early 2000s, which led to so many other properties, such as Walking Dead, where Rick wakes up from the coma, or how The Last of Us handled Infected, and many other movies as well over the years. But that movie was particularly great because the zombies were running, they were violent, it was brash, and it was filmed on an extremely low budget. And although a lot of people say the video doesn't hold up to this day, that's kind of true, but it also gives it a grainier, sort of more retro feel to it than it was even at the time of 2001. It was all filmed on a digital camera. And then 28 weeks later happened, and I thought it was alright. You know? But the franchise remained dormant for years. Luckily, it's been revived. And when I tell you I seen this trailer when it first came out, I was instantly excited. I was super into it. I saw like 95% Rotten Tomatoes scores, and I knew it was going to be a day one watch. Then I saw some reviewers come out, non-spoiler reviews, like Charlie, Penguin Zero, and Cody Leach come out. Some reviewers I trust poo-poo this movie, say they were disappointed, pointed out some flaws. And so I went into this movie with the expectation of, I didn't know how to feel. So I just shut off my brain, watched the movie, and came to the conclusion that it's mostly enjoyable. That being said, I have a lot of hang-ups. So let's just get right into it. So let's start with the positives. Right off the bat, the world building, the setting, is great. I thought the visuals were awesome. I think that the acting is something that should be praised, especially from the main character, Spike. His father did a great job acting. The doctor was immaculate as a character. He was great. And when you talk about the creatures themselves, it was good to see some variant creatures in there, like Alpha and the sloth creatures, to go along with the sprinters, right? And I was very happy to see those character designs. A little less penis next time would be nice, but I understand what happened. And I will say, another huge positive, the beginning of this movie got me with a really good hook. I mean, the infected running in, killing everybody, even, children, and it was quite an effective opening. To get you really saddled in. And in fact, pretty much the entire movie was paced very well. And it just felt like an adventure. It really wasn't all that scary. I felt like the first 28 Days Later was way more scary. This just felt more like almost an adventure flick. So a little genre bending there, in my opinion. I feel like this is more of an adventure flick than a horror movie. And I actually kind of like that for some reason, which is weird. This is not the sequel I would have expected, but it's the sequel we deserved. I don't know. But that brings me to some of the negatives. There are some big negatives. That being said, I still think it's a great movie. Obviously, an 8 out of 10 is great in my book. It's worth going. But first of all, the plot holes are really bad. I don't want to get too spoiler here, But when you have a certain area of the world that's infected the way it is, that it's been quarantined off for this long, why hasn't someone just nuked it? Like, we know for a fucking fact that if this were to happen in real life, they would just nuke the place. Okay? And they didn't. So that's really bizarre. A few other things that was a little weird. The baby being born, I have a little bit of a hang up with. It seemed a little odd to have an infected give birth to a non-infected baby, and the explanation for such was the placenta's magical. It almost reminded me of the Star Wars moment where they say the Force is in the mitochondria. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed kind of weird and out of place. There was a few weird and out of place things that happened here. But yeah, overall though, the movie was a great watch, for sure. I feel like some of the best scenes, I just want to talk about some of the best scenes real quick. When the Alpha is chasing the father and the son on the tides, or on the island to get, or on the isle to get back to the island. That was a really good scene. The Alpha itself, the way that it kills its victims is interesting. The way that the bones looked for the stone temple. But I think you all mostly want to know a little bit about the ending without me spoiling the ending, because a lot of people are complaining online about the ending. So keeping it spoiler free, did I like the ending? I think you guys have to set expectations on this ending. This is the first of a trilogy. So there needs to be a hook to go into the second movie. To me, for all intents and purposes, the first movie ends like 5 minutes before the movie actually ends, if you know what I'm saying. Like, the story arc is wrapped up when a certain somebody gets a letter, and then fish is being cooked. That's the end of the first movie, in my opinion. Legit. What occurs after that is nothing more than a cliffhanger for what will be the second movie. Which, boy, is that a can of worms, with how the cliffhanger for the second movie ended the runtime of this first movie, because I can see why it was very controversial. I'm not completely sure if I like it yet or not. I don't know if I want to see a whole movie that sort of does this. Is it going to be an action movie? This felt like an adventure movie. Is the next movie going to be an action movie? What's the third part going to be? A love story? I don't know. So I feel like we're on a little bit of an unpredictable ride here with this franchise. It's not what I would have expected, but in some ways I'm excited too. So, go into this movie with a grain of salt. Have your apprehensions up. But at the same time, just let your guard down and try to enjoy what you do see. But the biggest thing that really also had me mixed on was some of these camera shots. Some of the editing, it was extremely jarring early on. Extremely jarring. As soon as like a infected got hit, they like pause and shift the camera. All the iPhone shots, the close-up shots were a little weird. But I swear, it wasn't that long into the movie that it sort of just faded into the background for me, and I was back to enjoying the movie, and it wasn't so jarring. I don't think it really added or took away from the movie, unless it's something you just can't unsee. I became aware that it was still going on, but it wasn't hindering my enjoyment. Sort of like at the beginning, they also had this montage of different things for no reason. and it really made no sense why it was in there. Like people in bad costumes shooting arrows, and military people walking, and it's like it's trying to convey some kind of message that I feel like might have been lost on the audience, or maybe it was just added for a dramatic effect. But the last positive thing I want to talk about is the music. The music is great. Like, the music is fantastic. The score is awesome. And the story overall, like I said, I could nail a bunch of plot holes and a big plot hole, right? But why did the dad not go find him? You know what I mean? Go try to find him. And he was still in the... I don't want to spoil too much. But the music was great. The runtime was fine. Felt like maybe it dragged just a touch. Like I said, the characters made the movie, especially Spike and the Doctor. They were fun characters. The creatures were interesting. Overall, it's an 8 out of 10. I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't believe anybody that's saying this is a movie of the year contender. I can't take that seriously. There's just no way in any way, shape, or form this is better than Sinners. It's not. It just flat ain't to me. And then, but if you want to say, oh, it's the worst movie all year, I beg to differ. There's no way. There's no way. Not with acting that good. Not with music that good. And not with the gore and the kill scenes they had that was that well thought out and that good. But did it really meet my expectations? Maybe it came in a little under. A little under what I was thinking. I really thought movie of the year contender a few days ago. My expectations got tampered way down where I thought maybe I was going to come on here tonight and rant. But then when I actually saw the movie, we settled in at a nice, cool, crisp 8 out of 10. Go see this movie. I think people will enjoy it. However, 28 Days Later is still better. So with that being said, guys, that is the end of this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button on your way out. And thank you for watching. I'll try to make some more content as soon as I can. And I promise I'll try not to suck. Alright, I'll see you later.